check, 1, 2. Hello, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting of March 25th, 2026. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please note that Vice President Natalie Marrero will be joining us online this evening due to illness, and we hope she feels better. Trustee Treves, would you please reiterate our executive session motion?
Yes, of course. We entered into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person and the record of a particular student.
Thank you. Tonight is our final meeting in the series where the district has been reviewing the proposed 2026-2027 budget line by line. It is also a part business meeting. So far, we have discussed special education, guidance, athletics, teaching and learning, technology, BOCES, and human resources. Tonight's meeting, we will review the line items for the Board of Education and the superintendent, facilities, the business office, and benefits and transportation. As a reminder, the board set clear priorities to preserve programs, support special education, manage staffing responsibly, and remain within the tax cap, even as the district faces steeply rising costs in areas such as healthcare, transportation, and special education. We thank the district for the diligence and hard work put into the budget process so far. I'll remind everyone as well that these challenges aren't unique to our district. Peer districts are seeing similar pressures. I spoke with one last week, and they're planning to modify their out-of-district transportation policy to better manage costs. Several are planning reductions in headcount. A few are considering exceeding the tax cap, and another is moving forward with a major facilities bond as their aging infrastructure requires update to ensure smooth operations of their buildings and have their buildings meet modern learning standards. That sounded very familiar to me. Yes.
And at a very similar scale.
Yes. We're grateful to the Pelham community for taking the time to understand our budgetary challenges and needs as we move towards budget adoption. We also have our regular business items on the agenda, and I'll just conclude my remarks by welcoming our new Siwanoy Elementary School principal, Jen Mangoni. Congratulations and welcome, Mrs. Mangoni. The Board of Education looks forward to the leadership you'll bring to the district, building a strong academic foundation within a nurturing environment and fostering trust and rapport with the Siwanoy community. Your experience as a middle school principal brings valuable perspective on preparing our youngest learners for the next stages in their educational journey. So we wish you luck, and I also wanted to thank Mrs. Kramer-Gilbert for holding down the fort, and we're very grateful to her for all she's done.
Great. Okay. Thank
Dr.
you.
Champ?
Yes. Thank you. And I'm assuming after we do some of the couple of reports that maybe we can move an action item up
Yes, absolutely.
so that we can formally appoint Mrs. Mangoni tonight. So yes, good evening and thank you. I'm going to pick right up where Jackie left off. We're really excited at long last tonight to present to the board for my recommendation to appoint the next Siwanoy principal, and that is Mrs. Jen. I keep stumbling on it because now we're going to have two Jens as elementary principals. So Ms. Jennifer Mangoni to be the next principal of Siwanoy Elementary School beginning July 1st. We were just thrilled to meet Jen and to get to know her through this process. And Dr. Fitzgerald in her report will highlight some of the different steps of that process. I just think it's really important to say, the board remembers this last year. We did go through a search in June of last year, and we were not satisfied with the candidates. We didn't feel we'd met the right person. So Mrs. Kramer-Gilbert did come back and gave us the gift of time. And she came back and stepped into the role for another full year. She's been just amazing, and truly, I think the right person at the right time, and her commitment and love for that building is in everything. You can see it in everything she does. So through that, they gave us the opportunity to then take the time to be very thoughtful, and to outreach and make sure that we found the right person to lead the next chapter of Simonway. And we really believe that is what we found in Mrs. Mangoni. So Jen comes to us from Somers, where she's currently the middle school principal at Somers Middle School. Throughout the stages, she was incredibly impressive, showcasing so many skills in her work. So there was through the varying levels, both in speaking with different stakeholders, in delivering professional learning and working with students. Her authenticity and genuineness came through. Her desire to find a school that she can lead forward, and being very growth-minded in all she does. As I talked with references, everything I heard about was about relationships, connection, building on those relationships to have a growth mindset and continually innovating and continually learning. The phrase, she's a sponge when it comes to feedback, is a quote from one of my references, which we always talk about being lifelong learners, but you actually really want to be seen and known as one of those. And that's what I found out about Jen through this process. Someone who eagerly seeks feedback and looks to find ways to put it immediately into practice. Someone who can come into this job and approach it as a learner first and a leader at the same time. Someone who can be relational and build that family culture and yet still be a leader at the same time. You need that balance of both. Somebody who values social emotional learning and understanding wellness and creating a strong foundation for our earliest learners, and also balancing that with academic rigor and press. So that's what we saw as we got to know Jen. That's, we think, who she is, what she leads with heart. She comes wanting to find a family that she can be part of and that she can be that leader for. She herself, and as you get to know her, you'll know she has, I think, 4 children of her own, spanning the spectrum of grades from elementary through high school. So somebody who also has personal experience with parenting through each of those levels, who can be a fellow parent and help those around her as they grapple with the challenges of each stage. And the thing that we all thought was great as well, she's got that secondary knowledge of where the students at Simonway, she's going to learn where they start. She has lived that as a mom. She's going to see that now as a principal, and she knows where they need to be by the end of 5th grade to be prepared for that transition to middle school. So we're excited for all that she's going to bring to us. The team, the collaboration and teamwork that has been who she's been as a leader throughout her career. We're looking forward to yet another team player who can continue to be a valued part of our work together. So I can't say enough. I'm just going to keep going on, so I know the evening will get late. But really excited to have her tonight, and we'll be appointing her shortly and welcoming her, as I said, of July 1st. We'll be working together on a transition plan. Mrs. Kramer Gilbert said, of course, her door is open. She'd be happy to be a transition support before July 1st, and then, of course, we'll have entry plans afterwards and continue to work to support her for success, her professional success here in Pelham and the success of the building. So we're very excited. We got a chance, Dr. Fitzgerald and I went and spoke with the staff yesterday and gave them the good news, and the notice went out to the community today. So we're really excited for those next steps. Tonight, also on the agenda, kind of not as happy news, but you will see on the agenda tonight resignation from Mr. Toombs, our athletic director. And I will say that is with a very heavy heart, that he is, hard on my part and heavy heart on his part, that he is leaving to go to another district. I just wanted to quickly just pull up, I want to share a little bit from his letter. Just want to find the file. There, thank you. So, he shared in his letter to us, the decision comes with a great deal of reflection and gratitude. Over the past 3 years, it has been a privilege to serve in the role as as athletic director for the Pelham schools and to serve the Pelham community. I'm incredibly proud of this positive progress we've made together. Through collaboration, our staff and programs are in a better position to serve our students. I greatly value the personal bonds that I've made with the team here in Pelham. The connection with our staff, coaches, students, and community members have made this experience truly special and will stay with him moving forward. He goes on to say, I'm especially grateful for Dr. Champ's leadership and mentorship. You provided insight, perspective, and unparalleled support, both professionally and personally, and I will carry those lessons with me throughout my career. and in the months ahead, and this is truly important for our community, I'm fully committed to ensuring a smooth and thorough transition. I'll work directly with diligently to support the new director and to position the department for continued success, that our students ultimately benefit from an even stronger experience in the future. So thank you again for the opportunity to serve in this role and contribute to the Pelham community. I wish you and the entire district continued success. So I just wanted to share that because Joe really has been a wonderful, wonderful addition to the team. I will say he would not have just gone anywhere. Joe actually has an opportunity, kind of that once in a career opportunity to go back home. He's going to a district that he worked in initially for 15 years as a teacher and athletic director. It's a much bigger athletics program, bigger staff, bigger facilities, bigger budget, but really it's more about the chance to go home. So that was the only, early on, several months ago, he and I had some conversations, and he said he would not leave Pelham for just anywhere. There was really about one place, and that opportunity came knocking on his door. So I do wish him very much the best. He's done a tremendous amount for our programs in the last 3 years. I think we're better positioned now to move forward than we were when he came. You always want to leave the beach cleaner than you found it, so appreciative to him for that. What I'm recommending, just put it out there for the board, and we're going to send a community note, just letting folks know about the transition. Given where we are in the year, given we've got several, we're just finishing up the Siwanoy process, we have middle school administration to focus on next, I'm recommending that we consider bringing in interim athletic director for the year, finding somebody who has experience in the role, maybe recently retired from the role, somebody who knows the ropes and can just jump in and really kind of keep things moving in a positive direction. Also somebody, I'd love to find someone who can give us a really kind of call it a program analysis, take a real look at our programs. As we've shared with the board last time, we have 80 teams running, which is something that's way bigger than districts of our size generally do. And we have a very small back office staff to support that. One athletic director full-time, one secretary. Many other schools fielding that many teams have got a bigger structure to support the office, as well as supervision and things like that. So I'd like to get really just almost like an objective perspective on that, someone to come in with experience, give us a glimpse, and then come to us, in a few months in to say, look, if this is the program you want, these are the areas you want to build, because I know as a board and, administration, we have built, I think, incredible programs, and there's also areas where we still want to grow. And our community is looking for us to grow, to provide more students opportunities. So give us a picture of what that would look like and what it would take to do it. So that's kind of where my thinking is right now. So that's what I'm probably going to communicate out, is if folks are okay with that. So things will continue. He promised he will leave everything in good working order, and we'll get someone in place before the year's out so that we're ready to head into the summer and plan for the fall season. Two other quick updates. On tonight's agenda, you will also find the calendar for approval. Just a couple quick notes there. The board looked at a draft. We sent out a draft for feedback. The two changes are going to be made as a result of that. One, we had Passover. We had it listed on the first night of Passover. It actually really needs to be the next day. So that is shifting to Thursday instead of the Wednesday where it was originally posted. Pull that up so I can say the date specifically. So so Passover will now be no school on April 22nd for those who are observing Passover. And the other change, and Emerson actually brought this up as a piece of feedback at the table. I talked with Mr. Llewellyn. He talked with the site-based team. It came up in the survey as well. Instead of graduation being on June 26th, we are going to move it back to June 19th. Okay. So thank you for raising that issue. And I was glad he had an opportunity to talk with the site-based team. Certainly, we still want to be cognizant of the holiday. It will be on June 19th. So I asked Mr. Llewellyn to continue just to think about, okay, what are some things that we can do to still make sure that the holiday is honored as we want, but also be able to have great graduation on the 19th. So you can pass that on.
Nice work.
Yes. So those were the two changes that are on there. A couple other things that were in the survey, and there's a lot of feedback on, and we did consider them. I just wanted to highlight that. Two big asks that were kind of consistent, moving spring break later. So right now, spring break it's in alignment with BOCES for next year, and it is connected closer to Easter. And next year, it's another year where Passover is very separate from Easter. Some districts have moved it to Easter. So the ask was, could you consider moving it to align with Passover more in April, so that it's farther away from February break, in nicer weather. The challenge, as I asked around on that, if we were to move it to close proximity with the Passover, you're now into late April, which is right in the middle of prime testing season. That's 3 through 8 testing at the elementary to middle school level, and it's about 2 weeks before the start of AP exams at the high school. And there was a lot of concern from the administrators I spoke with specifically, and some of the feedback we got about it could be really disruptive, and to not be able to prepare for AP exams. Things are pretty high stakes. There was concern around moving it. So we are keeping it where it originally was proposed, and that is March 22nd through 26th, so that we don't interfere with testing, and we stay in alignment with BOCES. The other ask was to reconsider the 2-week break at the holidays. There were some mixed results there. Some people like the 2 weeks, especially if you've got international families, international travel. It allows for that. At the same time, there were working families with small children. The longer the break, the harder the hardship on the childcare is through that period. I know I will just put him on the spot and say Alex himself he would take issue with me, and I don't know. Something bad would happen in my office if we had another 2-week break. He was ready for his child to come back to work. He's an awesome dad, but ready for the child to come back. So that's, weighing both of those. In order to make that happen, we would have to bring students back before Labor Day, which I think would be problematic from a construction perspective, because we do have construction this summer, problematic from a student perspective. Many of the students know that Labor Day is it, and coming back really before the end of August or right in the beginning of September. And I think families would really struggle with that. And also teachers would have to vote to come back there, and the initial thinking was enough people are fine with the 10 days, 11 days that we have for the holiday break. They'd rather keep it the way it is versus come back before Labor Day in order to make the 2 weeks viable. So that being the case, we did consider those. I do want people to know we did hear the feedback and did look and did have some conversation. Ultimately, I'm recommending that we keep spring break where it is and holiday break as is as well. So any quick questions on that?
So this is basically pretty much baked, except for PLC days, right?
Thank you. Correct. Yes, the PLC days, and we have our second late start day, the day that we come back from spring break, upcoming.
Okay.
So we're off next week for spring break. Monday after that, the first day back is a 2-hour late start day, which is a PLC day. This year we were trying a couple late starts, a couple early releases, and once we get through that, we'll collect some feedback from teachers and from families to see if there's any consensus around an approach for next year. The one thing I did hear in the calendar survey is when you do put those in, please just pick one or the other. Some people struggled with having a split of early releases and late start days. I'm sure from a work and a childcare perspective. That makes sense. So they asked us to pick one lane, basically, or the other. So we'll see what the feedback brings, and we'll report back to you on that with an update once we do add those back in. Final thing, just for the board, and I'll put this in my weekly memo to you, we are starting to think about summer dates. So we need a reorg meeting. We're looking, ideally from our perspective, July 2nd or July 15th. Those are 2 days that we're looking at recommending. Having potentially a midsummer board meeting to do just kind of hiring and things like that contracts around July 29th. Back to school board meeting, likely looking at August 26th. And then our annual facilities tour before school opens on September 2nd. So I will put those in the memo to you, but just to start thinking about that. And then also we'll want to look at tying any kind of board retreat into ideally someday that we're already here anyways, would make some sense. So we'll send that out, and we'll hopefully between Jackie and I coordinate and get some of that nailed down so we can all plan summer schedules. That's it. I'm sorry that was a bit longer than I expected. But all good.
Thank you, Dr. Champ. Do we want to move up 7.1?
That'd be wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
Do I have, I'm going to move up 7.1, but do I have a motion to approve Schedule A? Schedule A, sorry. I'm like not in the right spot.
Yeah,
Second.
schedule.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm thinking maybe for a little discussion, Dr. Fitzgerald, this will be in lieu of your report. Can you just provide a little bit of an overview of the hiring process, and then we'll let the board take action. I did ask Mrs. Mangoni to come with just a couple comments for the board.
Great.
Of course, of course. So thank you, everyone, and we are thrilled that Jen Mangoni will be joining our team. So if you remember last year, we did post for the Siwanoy principal position. During that time, I met with parents and teachers and administrators. I ran focus group sessions and surveys, and we compiled the Siwanoy leadership profile. So that was one of the big things that came out of last summer. We used that in this process moving forward when we were thinking about our candidates. So when we posted in January, we had 57 candidates apply to the position. I was thankful to have Dr. Comerford and Ms. Holtz join me in screening candidates. We whittled it down to 6 that came back and met with stakeholder groups. They met with a group of parents, a group of teachers, and a group of administrators. From that evening, and then using the leadership profile, we then decided to bring 4 candidates back to run a professional learning session for our teachers and for our administrators. That session was on the topic of MTSS and Tier 1 instruction. We had four candidates present. From there, 3 of them were invited back to read a picture book with a lesson for children in 3rd grade. And then finalists came to the cabinet meeting, and then 2 moved on to the board for their final interview. So it was a lengthy process. It took us about a little bit over a month and a half to complete, but I'm really thankful to all of the people who sat on the committees, not only this winter, but also last summer, because I think we learned a lot of great lessons when we went through it the first time. So there was a lot of time put in by teachers and for parents and administrators, and I'm very grateful for all of their feedback and for their support throughout the process. So I'm really thankful we got to where we are to tonight, and welcome to Ms. Mangoni.
Thank you.
So I think with that, we can take the motion. Yeah, go ahead and vote on the motion and make it official.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
that
congratulations.
motion carried.
It's official.
Principal assignment.
And Mrs. Mangoni, we didn't invite you up to share your comments.
So I am so grateful and excited for this opportunity to join the Pelham family and community. From the moment I walked into Siwanoy, I could feel the warmth, the joy, and the passion for student learning and student well-being in the halls and in the community and with the faculty and families. And that's the type of place that I like to learn and work. When I came to read to the 3rd graders, which was the scariest part of this whole process, oh my goodness, I left there just beaming and excited and called my husband in the car and I said, this is the school for me. Like that was what sold it for me. And I read to them The Day You Begin, which is a story about bravery and stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something new because it can be great. And I think that that's what I'm doing here. And I'm so grateful to all of you for taking that big risk on a secondary educator, but really seeing who I am at my core, which is someone who is passionate about students and learning and growth. And I'm really just very excited to be part of this community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome. Jen, you're more than welcome to stay, but we also recognize you probably have lots to do to prepare for school tomorrow. So, oh, hi, hi kids.
If I stay.
Really, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next, we have our student BOE member reports. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
So last Saturday, the 21st, the pre-practice ACT was held, and it provided sophomore students with a meaningful opportunity to experience a standardized testing environment. It served as a valuable practice by helping students develop essential test-taking skills such as time management, pacing, and familiarity with the structure of the exam. This early exposure allows students to build confidence and identify areas for improvement ahead of the official ACT. Opportunities like this are so crucial for long-term academic preparation and success. The ACT plays a significant role in college admissions during students' senior year, making early preparation especially important. Overall, the pre-ACT is a beneficial, positive experience that supports students in their academic growth and readiness for future testing. Also, this upcoming Friday, Poetry Cafe is taking place in room 237 and provides students with an engaging opportunity to share and appreciate poetry. During English classes, students will be invited to step up to the podium and read a poetry, whether it is a piece already written or one they have written themselves. This event fosters creativity, builds confidence, and encourages public speaking in a supportive classroom environment. It also allows students to connect through shared ideas and personal expression. Overall, Poetry Cafe is a positive and enriching experience that highlights student voice and creativity.
Thank you, thank you. Go ahead, Emerson.
Okay. Our school-wide Olympics were held on March 6th, and this is always a memorable event because it brings together every grade for a full day of fun, teamwork, and competitive spirit. In past years, the seniors have usually come out on top, with the exception of 2 years ago, but this year, the class of 2027, our juniors took the win. And for the freshmen also, it was an especially meaningful first experience because it gave them a chance to see how the school comes together for traditions like this and help them better understand how they can prepare and improve for next year. 2 weeks ago, spring sports officially begun, including lacrosse, golf, tennis, and track. The start of these seasons, also rugby. The start of these seasons is always a strong reminder that we are moving closer to the end of the school year and that the third marking period is quickly wrapping up. We encourage everyone to come out and support our teams whenever possible, as student attendance and encouragement makes a real difference. Of course, we understand that not everyone can make it, but any support is always appreciated. The SAT also took place 2 weeks ago on Saturday, and our high school hosted the test out of many high schools, but we were a location for testing, and it marked another important milestone for our juniors as they continue through our college process. This exam is a major step for many students, and there's a lot of preparation leading up to it. Students will receive their scores back this Friday, and it makes it an especially anticipatory week for them. On that same day, West F was held at Somers High School. This is a major science research competition for juniors and seniors, and our school had an impressive showing. 14 students placed across a variety of categories, which is an outstanding reflection of the strength of our program. Their success was well-deserved, and it speaks to the time, dedication, and hard work these students have put into their research throughout the year. Last week, 4 junior students and 6 sophomores attended a Holocaust and Human Rights Convention at Iona College. The sophomores had the opportunity to listen to 2 different student-led presentations focused on human rights issues, while the 4 juniors prepared and delivered a presentation of their own. After the presentations, attendees listened to a Holocaust speaker, which was described as both moving and emotional. It was meaningful and impactful a meaningful and impactful experience for everyone who attended. And finally, the phone policy also continues to remain strong at our school, with solid compliance across the student body. Overall, students have done a good job adjusting to the expectations, and the policy continues to be consistently followed.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Great reports tonight, you guys. There's a lot going on.
Okay. Next, we have the line-by-line budget review. So, I don't know,
Okay.
Emma, are you you're not saying for the budget?
Yeah,
Just
you're
kidding.
welcome to stay. Again, same thing that I said to Mrs.
I'm
Mangoni.
joking, it was a joke.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, this will be the more, last one would have been a little more interesting, but this is facilities budget. No offense to Mr. Condon.
Yeah.
But thank you both. Really, it's nice to
Thank
see you
you.
guys.
Yep.
You know, I just thought of one more note about the calendar. I just want to note, because there was a couple comments in there about Eid not being on the calendar. So we added the start and end of Ramadan. They're both listed on the new calendar now. They should be. This year, we were able to put our parent-teacher conferences on Eid. So even though it wasn't technically a day off, it gave students a day off to be with families to celebrate. The alignment wasn't there this year, so that's why it's not on the calendar, but we did want to list it on there for recognition purposes. And if we had more days to work with, we could add it on. We just don't, the way that the calendar fell this year. So Lunar New Year, I think, came on the weekend. Yeah, so that's covered in that sense, but we were not able, unfortunately, to fit Eid in this year. But definitely something that's always on our mind as we develop a calendar each year, so we can try to be as inclusive as possible for our families.
Thank you. I appreciate you trying to, take all of the feedback into account and try to accommodate as best possible, but, and also understand there's a lot of sort of restraints around the calendar. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Jim, you want to kick things off for
Okay,
tonight?
again, good evening and thank you. Today is, or this evening is evening 3 of the line-by-line review of the budget this evening. The 3 core areas that we're seeing, the operations and maintenance is starting. We have John Condon, Director of Facilities, with us this evening to start us off. If you're having a budget book, it would start in, the detail would be found in Appendix 3. And then following Mr. Condon, we'll have the Superintendent of the Board of Education's budget, and then the business office and the undistributed expenses as well. So, Mr. Condon.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Board of Education, and thank you for your service. I'd also like to introduce Jackie Vigil, and I appreciate her being here tonight to answer all the questions I can't. Okay, well, there you go. I'm going to put everybody on B5. If everybody's there, it's an overall page. We do have Appendix 3. We can go into more detail if people are interested in that. I'll give you a minute. We're starting at the 1620, 160.
Chris, is there any way you could turn the mic up just a little
Yep.
bit?
Is that me or closer?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, no problem.
Can you hear me?
So we're
That's
starting,
better.
we're starting at B as in boy, 5.
B5, yep. Okay.
I did say Appendix 3, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
The B5 is the roll-up, and then the detail is
Yeah.
found in Appendix
Yeah,
3.
we can go into that detail if you choose. Overall, I just want to say that the budget is, for facilities is pretty flat, and we'll go through some of the reasons for that. There really is a generally flat budget from year to year. So we'll start off with custodial maintenance salaries. You'll see there was just a minor increase, which is primarily due to the fact that we put a maintenance mechanic had retired. That maintenance position is put in abeyance, so we did not hire for this year. There are minor increases, due to salary requirements and contractual obligations, but you can see it's a very minor increase there. Summer help salaries there, the next one down is our summer program, which is invaluable actually, where we do hire young people in the summertime to help out. We do have a small staff in general in the districts, and we fill in vacations and whatnot with those summer help kids to get the buildings in line. There's a minor increase there, which is really a reflection of the increase in minimum wage, which went up, I believe, $1 an hour, if I'm not mistaken. Substitute coverages there is for sick. We had the changes there for backfills for people who are injured, people who are out. Substitute coverage. If somebody's out, we use that money's there to cover for positions in overtime so areas are clean and ready for school the next day. School-related emergencies. Thankfully, we haven't had many other than snow, which is completely out of our control. So, that bodes well for the maintenance the guys are keeping up, that we haven't had any real emergencies. But most of our snow ended up landing on a Sunday, which also drives costs. We all know we had, which is great. We didn't lose too many snow days, much to the chagrin of some of the kids, I'm sure. But that being said, we kept the schools open. Grounds equipment, pretty self-explanatory. It's small equipment, snow blowers, weed whackers, lawnmowers, that sort of thing. Replacement of aged equipment. That's what it is. 202 there, building equipment. You see there was a large number and then a big drop off. That is reflective of 2 new vehicles that we actually ordered 2 years ago. We carried that on the budget for 2 years. So we have 2 nice little Ford Maverick trucks that we bought, a lot more fuel efficient, easier to get around the district, and they've worked out pretty well. We used one for a maintenance mechanic and one for our letter carrier.
And I had nothing to do with the fact that they matched my car.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't make the dark blue anymore,
was the only
sorry.
blue we could
We had to get the new year. Mechanical equipment, we had spent a lot of money in the past couple of years trying to keep these units on the roof working in this building. So hopefully that'll be a lot less, but that's our major equipment. We are replacing with the bond boilers in all the buildings. In the elementary schools, we're starting in Prospect and Colonial this year with the bond work, as we're all well aware. But the reality is a lot of that major equipment won't be replaced until next summer. So a lot of that preliminary work will be done, but so we have to get through heating seasons with these same boilers in the elementary schools for at least 2 years, Siwanoy 3 years, high school 3 years. So that's what those monies are there for. We did lose a boiler at Prospect Hill over the winter. We did some major repairs on that and got that up and running. Where are we? Fuel. As we all know, fuel there in everybody's house. Everybody's got a Con Ed bill. Everybody's been on social media and understood what that's about. You can see there's an area contingency there that's in the notes over there. That area contingency might be a fuel issue. I've gone through, in my past districts many years ago where you've seen fuel prices double. I don't know that's going to happen. I'm not a prognosticator, but fuel prices for gasoline went up a third in a matter of 2 weeks, which is more than a money grab than anything, but be that as it may. Light and power, same sort of situation. I mean, we're always trying to find efficiencies. We're changing the LED lighting, which has helped tremendously throughout the district, but at the same time, that gets absorbed by increases with energy. I hear talks about Indian Point coming back on. Who knows? But that's what that's for, so we anticipate that going up. Water services going up, same thing in your home. Price of water is going up, but we're also using the buildings more. We have early morning, late afternoon, and weekends. We do irrigation of our grass fields, and that's all water costs that are driven. Telephone, Ethernet service. This seems to be the only thing. Phone bills seem to go down for some reason. I have no idea why, but. All right. Professional consulting services. You can see there's a drop-off here. Is this working? All right. You can see the drop-off over there. Initially, there was $147,000 in there for pre-bond work, which was part of the initial drawing for the plans for Siwanoy and for the other schools to put out there to the community for the bond vote. So that represents that. Additionally, we have professional services in terms of, we have a masonry inspector that does inspections on our masonry, and we have a roof inspector, and I've decided to put those in abeyance for a while, quite frankly, because we're replacing roofs and we're replacing a lot of masonry throughout the district, so it's kind of duplicated services. We have been able to use those reports for the architectural work, which has saved us a little money in the drawings. So we've actually used those same vendors for those services, identifying roof and masonry issues. Contract services, they're all our, exterminator, dust mops for the floors, electricians, grass maintenance, cleaning of the turf, all those sort of little contracts, which are all notified in the, or all denoted in the Appendix 3. If you want to go through each one of those, we could certainly go through. I know I've done that in the past. I was told not to do that again, so there we go. But there we go. Ground service repair, that's our playgrounds. It's taking care of, our irrigation systems, that sort of thing. We do have irrigation on Ingalls. We have irrigation still down at Glover Field. We have irrigation up at Hutch. Most of our schools do have irrigation, which surprised a lot of people, I think, in the architect in a recent meeting, that we do keep things nice and green, which has been beneficial to the district. I think it looks nice when you drive by and everything doesn't look all burnt out, and puts a nice foot forward for the people that don't come into the district. Like I often say to people, 90% of the people never come inside the school, so it's what the schools look like from the outside is the impression we put forward to the community. And I think our schools should match the community because we have so many beautiful homes in the district. Uniforms is contractual obligation. They're entitled to uniforms every so many years. They're entitled to outdoor coats every so many years. We have changed the uniforms around a little bit. We do give them different summer equipment. We've gotten some nice bright green jackets for the guys, which normally guys don't want to wear, but they're actually very a nice jacket, and the guys really do appreciate it. It makes it safer for when out there snow blowing and guys are plowing around them. It makes it safer for the guys working outside. Training and education, we do put money out there. We do have classes that we send guys to. We give guys opportunities that want to do it to go to for additional training or additional classes. If they ever find something, we send people to it. We do have training classes. A lot of that's been absorbed by personnel, thankfully, for all the asbestos awareness, all the mandated classes we now do online, which has been very beneficial. It's a great checks and balance for everything to make sure we're in compliance. So I appreciate personnel for taking care of that. The property lease is the last thing there. That is the monies from Sanborn. As you recall, we absorbed that in this budget several years ago, and we've continued to do so. So essentially didn't have an impact on the overall budget, but is paid for out of facilities budget. That's it. Where we at? Custodial supplies, right? Okay. So we're on 451, which is custodial supplies. That's pretty much everything. It's the sponges, the wax, the stripper, the Ajax, all the chemicals that we use for cleaning. We do have consolidated cleaning chemicals to keep it simple. We have dilution machines that deliver prescribed amounts of chemicals for cleaning the floors, for cleaning bathrooms, and whatnot. But that's where all that money's come out of it. Rags, you name it, that's where it comes out of it. Ground supplies is for the grass, the fertilizer, for the areas that we're responsible for. As I mentioned before, we do have an outside contractor that does our grass cutting and leaf collection and also cleans the gutters. We actually supply the seed and fertilizer in that contract to him, and he applies it in the areas of his responsibility under the supervision of my ground supervisor. Material supplies, this is, everything from somebody needs a new outlet someplace, or we need to run a new outlet someplace, or fan belts and filters and you name it, anything that we would need for to fix anything in the district, plumbing, piping, you name it. Vehicle and equipment fuel, we kind of do a hybrid situation here. We do get some of our fuel from Pelham Manor. We get our diesel fuel. They have their own fueling over there for their fire trucks. So we buy our diesel fuel from them. They bill us. We also have accounts with gas stations where we have cards associated with our vehicles and also our tanks for our small equipment, which all gets recorded and accounted for. And last page, I guess, would be the 160 is D4. If you go to D4, this is all really associated, as we all know. As you may know, we have an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pelham for recreation. As all of you know, we have children in the district or recreation department, and the schools. The recreation department uses the schools for all of their services. We have an agreement with them. They pay for half of a groundsman, and they pay additional monies for supplies for the fields to help maintain the fields. It's a symbiotic relationship. I know Mr. Ricky is insistent on it, and I think we've fostered a fantastic relationship here in my tenure. We have quarterly meetings with Mike Iannuzzi, the recreation director, and we've had the town officials come to those meetings as well. We talk basically about how the last quarter went, what's going on now, and what's going forward as we move into the given seasons. We had some earlier meetings about construction going on. Obviously, Prospect and Colonial has been publicized is going to be under construction this summer. So we've moved, the tiny tots, middle tots, and little tots, or whatever tots that are out there, all to the other schools. They do have, so we'll have, different groups at Siwanoy, Hutch, and the high school, one of them being more of a outdoor camp, or rather a a mobile camp. They go visit Yankee games and whatnot. But they run great programs. It's all the same kids. These are, these are parents' first experience in our schools, and they don't separate recreation from the schools. Nobody gets it that Glover is owned by the schools. So that experience that those parents get from recreation and the experience in our properties is what they carry forward, I think so. Anyway, that's been my experience. What else we got? That's about it. That's it. Like I said, if anybody really wants to get into the weeds of the details now or later, I'd be happy to discuss it. We're always looking for opportunities to save money or do stuff more efficiently, and that's where we are. Obviously, we've got a huge bond project, which is, taking flight very soon, but, we've had about 700 meetings, I believe, at this point.
And more to come.
Yeah, I have no doubt. But that's been great. Everything's going really well so far. I mean, I think we're getting really good feedback on the drawings. I think the plans are good. They're solid. We've had, we've had breakdown from groups. I know, I'm not really part of the educational part, but we've had separate meetings on just heating systems, electrical systems. We brought in experts in the community to have visit those. We were just up at the engineers, and we sat with them for several hours going through every minutia part of the Siwanoy drawings to see what we liked and what we didn't like. And, overall, very happy with it, and I think everybody was very happy with it. But, it was a very open meeting, and people were receptive to change, which is good. Trying to find efficiencies and making sure it'll, be a long-lasting project for those that are after us, right? So that's all I got, pretty much of it.
So
Yes, sir.
fuel,
Yes, sir.
that
gonna
was
ask me.
B5, right? Or is that in gyms? Do we go through gyms?
That falls under facilities, I think. If
Okay.
you looked on
Fuel
the
for
J1.
vehicles or fuel for the buildings?
Whatever the bigger number is.
Yeah.
The bigger number is
Utility number.
gas and oil.
Yeah.
All our buildings right now are dual fuel, with the exception of Glover and Hutchison. Glover runs only on oil. It's a small little, and that's not going to get changed anytime soon. It's just a little oil furnace down there. And but Hutch is a gas-fired only. The high school runs on gas and oil dual fuel. All the other buildings can run on dual fuel. But the high school, because of the size, we're actually on a demand. So we get a lower price for the gas at the high school, because when they demand it, as the word says, kind of demands us to switch off and go to oil on the heavy, really cold days. We actually they switched us to gas for 2 weeks straight almost, because there was such a demand. When it gets down, 20s, they'll ask us to switch off and go to oil at the high school, so, people won't run out of gas for their houses.
I guess, you probably read the same headlines as me. Fuel could get very, very expensive
Oh, yeah.
very, very soon. And looks like we think we're going to spend about $450,000 in fuel, and you're budgeting for $780 next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in there, we do carry some contingency in there as part of our larger 2%. So that detail also is available to the board in the back.
All right.
So you know where all those contingency dollars are.
I just want to make sure there's enough ceiling for where it could go. That's
Yes, I mean,
We were talking about.
anecdotally, I'll just share.
Yeah.
I've got oil, and we've kind of seen close to a $2 jump per gallon, close to it, I think, with my personal provider. So we're looking at those things. We don't know where we are in the future right now, but as Mr. Condon mentioned, and I recall from Katrina, even in the early 2000s, we really saw quite a snap and an increase in those prices when that happened. And I was in the municipal business at that time, but we turned to things like, the police chief was telling their officers to get out of their cars and walk for an hour. So their cars were turned off for an hour at that point in time with the municipality that I worked in, all in an effort for conservation. And that's obviously not something we can do, but those were the measures that were taken at that point in time. We know that we've got to keep the building at the proper temperatures, and we're watching this closely, because what do we hear? About 20% of the oil supply is kind of pinched right now. So that's just, it's gonna impact all of us in one way or another.
Good, okay. Well, thank you very much. I want
right.
to thank you,
Thank
Jackie,
you.
for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Totally. Okay, thank you, Mr. Condon. Next, we go to stay in the same area, pages B1 and B2. It's the Board of Education, District Clerk, and Central Administration.
Okay,
Dr.
and
Champ.
I think I have the shortest section of the budget, which always feels strange, but I'm thankful for that. So yeah, we're starting on page B1. And that starts with my office. So clerical part-time folks, that is any internal staff who assist with things like, especially our annual budget. So our folks that are already currently on payroll that do some extra hourly overtime, et cetera, for that. In the contractual line, 10-10-400, you do see a $2,000 reduction. That's where a lot of different items come from related to either my office or communications, and that is a reduction of the scope survey. We administered that this year and don't need to administer it next year. So we're taking that out of the budget. That's exactly the $2,000 decrease. And then you see just some small changes in supplies and materials, BOCES services. I will note that we contract with BOCES for our board docs and policy manual management. That's our Erie One BOCES system. So that there is an increase in that line, but actually the policy services are being covered in a different line previously, so the increase is not quite as big as it looks. District clerk stipend, that is part of Valerie's work, a stipend that she receives each year. And the raise for that, like all other confidential, non-represented staff, is determined by the board annually at the end of each year, which is why you see the 0% there, because that is determined at the end of the year with annual review. Everything else is pretty much the same there in those remaining lines. District meeting, that has to do with annual budget votes. So there's our contractual and materials and supplies items there. You started to see some things on the agenda tonight related to lining up for the budget vote, and you're going to see a lot of that as we go forward. Going on to B2, this is where, of course, you've got my salary listed there, and again, the 2.5% increase was from last year to this year. The $182 is just kind of a rounding number there. That's not anything intentional other than making the numbers match. So that, again, my salary is determined annually by the Board of Education. Clerical salaries, that represents the folks in my office. That's Valerie's base salary, Maria Caravellano, and Sharon Hanlon. There's a decrease in that line, and that's predominantly due to overtime from prior years. We had transition in the office that folks wound up doing some extra overtime hours to help with the being understaffed for a while. So now that that's fully staffed, that explains that reduction. Material supplies at the bottom stays the same. The line I did want to focus on is the contractual expenses, and you see just over $21,000 reduction there. What's in that line, in that category, is a variety of things. That's several different memberships for myself, for communications office, and some of the other administrators. Things like postage, supplies for mailings, things like that. Professional learning opportunities, and that's things, again, for communications office. We had Mr. Sabalos did some professional learning through this line. He attended something in my place this year that I was not able to attend. And then all the various organizations that I'm part of on a regular basis. Also things like our hearing officer for disciplinary hearings, and if we have any special ed hearings, that could come out of this line. So that's what's in it for the coming year. What's out for the coming year that would normally be in there are things that tend to support some of the additional contractual services, or again, I'll call it hospitality around professional learning. So contractually, that's things like Judy Wilson, who has been working, she's been an executive coach for me for several years, no longer budgeting for that this year. The board retreat consultants, there was some funding there that in prior years was there. It's not in there now. We could certainly juggle some things within that line if the board would like to continue to get consultants to assist with our retreat this summer. And then I mentioned it last time, I think, our off-site administrative retreats. So Edith Macy Center, so rental space for that work, catering for various meetings throughout the year, whether the board, meals when we're working through dinner hours, or for the administrative team, we're working through lunch hours. Those things have all been reduced as they're, farthest away from the classroom as possible. So all those combined really added up to that $21,633 reduction. What was never in this line, but I did want to mention it because I know it's been, I'll be honest, it's been a critical support for us, especially given the direction of the board's goals over the last several years. But this really started with the bond work that we did last year, and that was the addition of a part-time communications staffer through BOCES. So initially we brought, that's Dan O'Reilly, thank you. Dan, we brought him on for the last 3 months, heading into the bond vote last year. And we used contingency funds for that. We've been able to use contingency funds again to bring Dan on this year, to again continue to assist as we work to continue to highlight all the great things that are going on in the district, really reinforce the value of the educational experience that our students are getting, and push that positive information out there, which has enabled Alex to be more in a strategic role for us, which I think has paid off, and you saw the results through the scope survey, that all that strategic planning and strategic work is moving us in the direction that we want. This year, we have Dan 8 hours a week through contingency. We are not currently, that is not budgeted in the coming year. So we would still love to find that funding, but we recognize this is a very tight budget. I just needed to put that on the board's radar because that's been a critical support that's helped us move towards our communications goals. And that is not currently there. So, I think just we need an awareness of that if this remains, if the budget remains as constructed right now. That's something I need you to be aware of because it does have a direct capacity information on the, impact on the communications of the district. And as I said last time too, currently Alex is also going to be taking on management of the building level websites. It's not, I'm not going to say it's not a lot of work, but we rely less on the websites. They're really more static than they were, 10, 15 years ago. But it is still, added work to keep the visibility of the district where we expect it to be.
So is 8 hours a week, how much is the annual cost for the support? Or?
So for the next year, for 8 hours a week, for the year would be just under $28,000.
Okay.
It is BOCES aidable at about 39%, so 39 cents on the dollar. But yeah, it's a $28,000 expense if we were to do it for the full year. The challenge is we could do part years as in the past, but that depends on BOCES availability. If they have staff with time that they can give us, we certainly would lose any first, right of first refusal if we were not to contract with somebody for the full year. So. And that's actually the end of my part of the budget.
Great, thank you, Dr. Champ. If we stay in the Bs, if we go to, starting on page B3, we're covering the business office, which covers the salaries for folks in the business office, which makes up people who are managerial and confidential, as some people in the CSEA, which have collective bargaining agreements, and myself. You'll see an increase this year. We have a larger increase on our contractual expense, and that's related to financial advisor fees related to a borrowing for the 2025 bond. Again, it's a budget-to-budget increase of $12,000, and a minor increase in materials and supplies, office supplies and what have you. And then on the bottom, you see we have about $82,000 a year in contractual expenses, and that's really primarily related to our external auditor, our internal auditor, and we talk about our claims auditor. So all of those things are requirements. We have a claims auditor before all of the bills are paid. They work for the board, and they want to make sure that all the payments are appropriate. Internal auditor does 2 engagements a year, and of course, we have an external audit done every year over the summertime period. That's on page B3. If we go to page B4, just at the top of that line, we have our contractual expenses related to legal fees, and really that's based on our there is an increase, and that's based on our most recent run, our historical experience. So while you see there's a change year to year based on that. If we went over public information services already, so I don't think we need to do that. Happy to do that. If not, we can go to page B8. B8 covers some of our contractual expenses administratively. We talk about unallocated insurance. That's really our liability insurance. We work through a consortium. NYSER is the acronym, New York State Insurance Reciprocal. It's a conglomerate or a cooperative of school districts. This conglomerate was put together, or cooperative was put together in the 1980s. And really what we do is we work with insurance specialists to collectively put together insurance programs that are really tailored towards school districts and beneficial towards school districts. This is the third year, though. We have seen significant increases year to year in insurance. I think we've made it very clear to our cooperative. They're making some changes to their program and also to their people as well as far as how it's managed. But at the same time, we want to make sure we have proper coverage. But I don't think it changes a lot for what a lot of us are seeing in our own personal lives with either auto insurance or homeowners insurance. Beyond that, we have school association dues. You see there's a slight reduction. Judgments and claims for any small claims that are not covered by insurance, de minimis. You see sewer taxes for $62,000. You'd say, wait a minute, I didn't think the school district paid taxes. This is really just to pay for the sewage part. So that it's called sewer taxes, but it's really a fee for that service. And that's for all of our buildings. And then we have our BOCES administrative charges. This goes back to that funny acronym I mentioned at the last board meeting, AWADA, which was guaranteed to put you to sleep. I actually got an email from BOCES, I think the day after we last talked about this, and I was tempted to forward it to you, but I figured I'd make the offer. If you'd like to see it, I'd be happy to share it with you. And again, that just determines how that fee is allocated every year based on a specific census that BOCES uses amongst all the member school districts. Following that, we're into the C, the Charlies. We'll talk on C26, it's attendance and building safety. This is related to our safety monitors. I think one of the bigger changes we see there is as we look at our in-house monitors, we kind of are going to be very deliberate in working to staff more so with our in-house monitors versus our contractual security staff. Having the contractual security staff is a wonderful option to have. It's not an incredible premium, but it is a premium. And we want to work harder to fulfill it with our internal staff as a way to preserve dollars. And while at the same time, we will have that lever to pull if we needed to for contractual services as needed. So you may still see one or two, but I think if we had 3 or 4, we're going to try to lower that to 1 or 2 as we work through the year to find that savings.
But I just want to ask about that. I think that's consistent kind of with your plan all along, right? Like to staff in-house?
Yeah.
It has
to the
been.
greatest
Yeah,
degree
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
more recently, our availability of human resource being able to
Find
find
people, yeah.
appropriate people.
Yeah.
It's not a job for everybody. We had somebody
No,
come in,
no.
they sat through 2 middle school lunches, and they said, thank you, that's enough.
They ran away.
And that's okay. We'd rather have them,
Yeah.
Better to know that up front.
right. So again, not for everybody. So other people can sit through it and this is great. The energy, the young
Yeah.
people. This is really inspiring. So you kind of see it hits people different ways. And again, I think finding people it's always a challenge. So it can ebb and flow. And I know, Doc's really talked about that a lot in their work in human resources. After that, we can go to the Ds, which is pupil transportation services. And we're looking at page D1 to D3. And For a district that does not bus students to school, we do still have pupil transportation costs of just preliminary in the budget of just over $2.5 million. And as you see the breakdown of that expense, there's a portion of one person that has to help coordinate that. That's the half the salary of a person in the business office. And then we have contractual costs. You see charter and athletic trips, and I would say that's almost entirely athletic trips of $390,000. Services from BOCES, we share services with BOCES, which is a real benefit to the district. So we share with Bronxville and Eastchester and Pelham and Tuckahoe. BEPT, I've said it a couple of times. And what we're able to do is the districts amongst ourselves and kind of coordinated by BOCES, we're able to, if, say we have a bus going up to Windward and White Plains, and we have so many kids, and maybe Tuckahoe has so many kids, we can share that ride and share that expense. Without that program, we'd be bearing the full expense of a bus. So it's really a great opportunity to share services and defray costs. And then you see our contract transportation. So for that, we also have transportation costs related to our private school students who our Pelham students that attend private schools out of district. State law requires we provide them with transportation. The primary source is public transportation, but when that cannot be provided in a timely manner or we're not able to access it, then we have to use yellow bus transportation. We also have yellow bus transportation for our special education students. So if they need to go to a specialized school outside of the district, we need to have a bus available for them and provide that transportation as part of their individualized instructional IEP. So, individual educational plan.
And Jim, just on the transportation note too, I know that we're still going through the annual review season. So this is based on the crystal ball of known and best guesses.
Yes.
But this is an area where we do see fluctuation
Absolutely.
from the time we set the budget to the time we complete the annual review season. So I know the board is
Thank you.
aware of that, just wanted to highlight that.
And that's important, and you reminded me of something too, which is great to point out on page D2. We kind of have the breakdown of out-of-district transportation
Perfect.
and the same budget. And again, as you look at, say, transported by BEPT Consortium, that's kind of students transported by yellow bus. We do make an assumption of 2 contingent students because the deadline for out-of-district transportation is April 1st. So we're working hard to reaching out to parents on that. If we have students come into district after April 1st and they make proper notification, we're obligated to provide that transportation, and that does happen as well. So that's why we have these contingent positions. Or if we have a special education student placement that happens after the adoption of the budget, again, we have to provide that service. So that just provides a little more color to the breakdown on how we got to the number that you see here, because it's a significant number. So after pupil transportation, if we go to D5 to D8, we can talk about employee benefits. I get to talk about all the really expensive things. This entire line, as you can see in the preliminary budget, totals $22.6 million. Largest component is about $12.5 million, $12.6 million related to health insurance. Similar to NYSER, we do, again, work with a cooperative with other school districts. You'll hear us say Swiss Chip. I think it's Southern Westchester School Health Plan.
Sure.
Today. And really, it actually works as kind of a large self-insurance plan. But we pay annual premiums as if it's an insurance plan. So it's better than working. I've worked a self-insurance plan in another organization. Certainly that's a great way to go if you've got a large enough population, a lot of risk that you can have in there. When you work with that consortium with a group of people, you're able to spread that out a little bit too. And we work with, Swiss Chip does a great job in all member school districts, all with the same goals in mind, trying to work really hard to provide a good service, but also being very cognizant of the cost of services as well. And the chairman of Swiss Chip is actually Dr. Champ's colleague,
Yep.
Dr. Wool
at
of Harrison
Harrison School District.
Harrison
the
School
superintendent.
District. And Dr. Wool's got strong opinions and,
Yes.
and good opinions. So he works really hard, along with the group of people, work really hard to try to do what's best for school
Right.
districts.
Good project. Yep, good project.
And there's representation from labor. There's, again, a wide representation. But that's part of our expense, again, year to year. For active employees, I think we see an increase there of about, the ranges were between active employees 7.8% and retirees between 9.8 and 14%, depending on different coverage options, because we do provide health insurance for qualified retirees, people who've retired and qualify for retirement health care benefits. In addition to that, our employees participate in the state retirement funds. There are two different retirement funds, the employee retirement system and the teacher's retirement system. What we pay to that system is based on a percentage of salaries. So every year, the retirement systems give us an idea of what the contribution rate would be. They'd say, okay, it's going to be, well, the numbers are right here where it can change. When you look at teachers, the TRS rate is 8.24% next year. So for every dollar a teacher is paid, 8.24% is then allocated to the teacher's retirement system, outside that dollar. And that's part of that system. Again, that's the state teachers system and the employees' retirement system. Social Security expenses you see here, workers' comp, and an employee benefit fund. So for some of the collective bargaining units, we may not provide dental insurance. They may have their own union-sponsored insurance plan where they do it on their own. In that instance, based on whatever the collective bargaining agreement is, the district would make a contribution on a per employee basis, per employee basis. So that's what we have on that line, on D5. If we want to go, well, again, more detail on D6, on a little bit more on the state retirement plan, the teacher's retirement plan, and everything that I just went through, I will spare you. And then if we go to page D9, we can talk about debt service and interfund transfers. I think what I like, the page I like is kind of D11. That shows us what our outstanding debt is with our bonds and our principal and interest from next year rolling out to 2049, 2050 of our existing debt. And then we're also rolling in some of the anticipated debt from the 2025 bond. So in this budget, we're anticipating a bond anticipation note, a borrowing, a short-term borrowing. So there'd be a one-year borrowing in June in this particular budget. At this time, working with the construction manager and the architect, we're looking at the timing of that. Is it something we're going to do in June, in which case we'd have an interest expense in June of '27? Or is it something that may be happening a little bit later? Maybe it's going to happen in July, in which case it wouldn't be part of this budget. It would just be, it would push forward to the following year. So those are the things that we're looking at. We're working with our financial advisors on that as well so that we have the right numbers. And then we have some transfers to our food service. Actually, that doesn't happen right now. It's self-funding, and right now it looks like universal free lunch, as far as we've heard, is going to continue in the state budget for next year. So I know we've seen participation drive up as a result of that. We'll see how that turns into our annual financials for that fund, because we were in a deficit. We were rolling in a deficit position, and we were taking steps to move that into a positive position. So we're working on that too. I think that's everything. Jackie, we get it all? Yes, so transfer to special aid is the district's share of our special needs extended school year program.
Which page are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on D9. So we do run a summer extended, we call it, you'll hear us say the acronym ESY, extended school year. And again, that's a shared cost, and the district's expenses 20% of that particular program. And that program is required. So it's kind of not an optional program based on the student's learning plan. And then you have our transfer to debt service. Beneath that, you see with the principal and the interest on our bonds. And then it's about $5.9 million next year. which again goes back to the schedule on D11, on the total on the far right column, total $5.9 million. It matches. This is what we want.
Jim, on the same page, D9, the
Yes.
lease principal for 9788-600,
Yes.
that is
So
office leases?
that's related to well, a number of leases that we have, and GASB stands for Government Accounting Standards Board. They develop pronouncements to try to make our books be easily understandable to the general public. Jackie Vihill is a licensed CPA
Thankfully.
and can spend a little bit more time giving the ins and outs of GASB if you'd like to hear more about that. Thank you, Jackie. And her opinion on whether GASB.
Are you ready? Is this working? Yeah.
We're here to make life easy. We're here to help. Yeah.
So basically, they want to take any long-term leases and consider them to be capital leases, which is why it falls into this capital section of the budget. So for instance, the Sanborn lease was a multi-year lease. You would expect to see, I mean, John kind of touched on it in his code. You would expect to see the full amount of the lease, $150,000 a year or something, reflected in his codes, but instead we have to reclassify it into this capital section of the budget based on this accounting standard. So the Sanborn lease is really the bulk of it. There's some
Copiers.
equipment leases for the copiers, and I think there's like a postage
The mail
meter,
machine,
which
the
is
Pitney Bowes
completely
machine.
immaterial.
That's
but
in there.
It's in there. So it's just reflected on this line and not in the other lines that you see in the budget, so.
Right. And the reduction, I noted it because there's a reduction of $69,000 in this line,
Right.
Yes.
which I believe is due to the partial year.
Correct. We don't anticipate occupying
Right.
Sanborn for the full year, so we didn't budget for the full year.
Right. So we're hoping at this time next year that we are in the 29 Franklin House.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure the board was aware of that we did reduce that line intentionally with the goal of being in the house.
Mhm. Yes. Okay, I've reached the bottom. Again, as the board thinks about this, the question may not always come to you here, it may come to you at different times. Please reach out. We'll work to get answers. Mr. Treves, we're working on an answer for you for one of your questions. We worked on some of it last year. We're plugging this year's numbers into it, so we anticipate having that for you, and we'll share it with the board when we get it as well.
Thank you.
The next meeting would be October 8th, which would be budget discussion. I think optimistically, the state will have a budget at that point in time. If not, I think we'll still have more information at that point in time. Early on, we're not hearing the likelihood of a lot of additional aid for a district like ours because we were not placed on hold harmless. Those districts that got 1%, we're hearing it's going to sound like 2% for them. But we were not in that category to start with, so I don't think that places us there. We'll see where that shakes out, and we are following it as we move forward. And things like fuel and other things that come up, things that have changed since the original budget was adopted, we'll share that with the board as well, so that we kind of have an idea if other other priorities are there, or reshuffling has to happen, kind of what it would look like and what some recommendations could be.
So I once again, I just want to say thanks to Jim and to Jackie for the incredible
Jackie.
work that you guys have done. Your office has just been amazing. And just anytime you're willing to sit with us and go through it again and help us to really be clear is much appreciated. And thanks to the whole administrative team that worked really hard to hone this and, look around the table. The cabinet was critical in leading that work and working with all the district-wide administrators. So I'd just say to the board, as Jim said, our next board meeting is our opportunity for discussion. So if there's questions you have, feel free to reach out to us in advance. If there's additional information you would like for that conversation, please let us know in advance. We'll do what we can to get you the information you need, because I know it's an important conversation. We do our best to stay within the parameters that you set. And I know and I appreciate the recognition that you gave us some tough parameters in this year. So we really did our best to keep our eyes on the parameters, eyes on the strategic plan, eyes on students, to provide something that we can support and something that we think is realistic. So we look forward to the conversation and any additional guidance before we actually ask you to adopt the budget on April 21st. And remember, that is a Tuesday. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over because it's off cycle, but that's a regulatory requirement.
I missed it today when we were emailing.
That's right. And I know Jim's trying to plan, maybe even put out a note for one more, trying to get one more, yes, we're put out a
One more
note for one more
finance.
finance committee meeting in between to also kind of address those same
I
things,
think before
questions you may
before the
have,
April 8th, I think we're
and
trying the
additional
7th.
information.
Yeah.
So, thank you very
Okay.
much.
And again, if you need more time or you want to hear other things or think of different scenarios, that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharice. That was it. right?
Okay.
Okay,
The end.
okay.
It's kind of uneventful to get to the end.
Yeah, I'm like, that's it.
That's it.
That was 3 meetings. So I'm going to suggest that we don't do committee reports and our and the assistant superintendent reports this evening, so that we can move to the rest of the
Policies, et cetera.
yeah
Okay.
the business. Okay,
Yes.
Good with that?
is everyone good?
Okay.
Okay.
And certainly if the board had any questions from, I know
Yeah, or
the
if there's
cabinet sent
anything
memos,
urgent,
so if there's,
yeah,
yeah,
send a
anything
memo,
urgent
yeah.
or pressing that, they'd be happy to answer, of course.
Okay? All right, great. Let's see, we don't have communications and comments from the public. Do I have, what can I go through? I'm going to go, do I have a motion to take 5.1 through 5.5 as a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Is there anything we want to talk through here? I know some of it we,
Yep, we've already touched on the calendar updates, so that's there. Some of it's just our typical monthly treasurer's report, budget transfers, the audit that I believe Jim mentioned,
Internal audit.
internal
It's
audit.
yes.
The formal engagement based on the audit committee meeting
Yeah.
from our internal
And
audit.
just participation with BOCES.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of this? No? All in favor? Aye. None opposed, so those all are approved. I have a motion to accept donations.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. There are several donations and organizations in here to be thanked. There is a donation of $500, grant 2603 for Lunar New Year Arts Experience, and that is from the Pelham Education Foundation. So we thank them for that donation. There is another one for another donation in the amount of $1,105 to be used to purchase books for the Hutchinson School Special Book Program. And that is, the donor there is the Hutchinson School community, so we thank them for that. The next one is a grant in the amount of $5,000 to support the Pelham Memorial High School musicians, and that is, the donor for that is the National Philanthropic Trust, so we thank them for that donation. And then there is an additional donation for $50,000 for grant 2604, engineering development, and that is from the, again, from the Pelham Education Foundation. And the last one in here is, as if, I mean, this is a lot of donations, so this is wonderful, is for the amount of $25,980 for grant 2605, making learning visible, expanding access in instructional visuals in elementary classrooms. And again, that's the Pelham Education Foundation. So we are very grateful to the Pelham Education Foundation, the Hutchinson School community, and the National Philanthropic Trust for these donations. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And now, all right, of course, I lost the
6.1 policies.
Okay, we're in the, now we can move to our policy section. I'll turn it over to Sid, but we have policies for, nothing to approve, but some second reading and first readings.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to waive the third reading on the children with disabilities one or not, but there weren't any comments or changes to that one. For the others, there's several policies that relate to discrimination and equal employment opportunity and sexual harassment that are all somewhat related, and many of the changes relate to changes in federal regulation over the last several years. We also have a new policy related to extreme heat, which is tied to both the recent state law, and then also some carryover that we had from approaches that we had used previously for high heat for things like athletics, which are not covered by the state law. And then 6.6 would be a motion related to the extreme heat policy that would tie out to remove the existing policy that would be superseded by the new one. So we would, I guess, consider that now, review it now, but then approve it at the next meeting when we approve the new policy. And Val, I'm going to talk to you. There are just a couple cleanup things on a couple of these that we can work through,
Okay, great.
but nothing substantive.
Nothing substantive.
Just
Yep, no, that's
conforming
fine.
changes and things.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Sid. Do we want to waive the third reading, or is this one of the policies that we'd like to allow? We want to make sure that people have every opportunity to read through and provide comments.
Totally up to you all. This is one of the ones that we're changing, updating because of the change in rule to go from students being with disability being defined as student up to 21. This is because of the
Okay.
age change to 22.
Okay.
Yeah, Catherine, I think you were going to
No,
add something.
I was just going to say that this just is legal changes to bring us current with what
So
the
we're-
mandate is
okay.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do I have a motion to waive the third reading and approve policy 7611, children with disabilities?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That policy is now in our policy
All
book.
right, thank you. I was going to say on the next three, I know that we've had conversations with, at the board level about how do we as a district at the administrative level continue to create, kind of a see something, say something environment. It's just really important to send the message around any kind of harassment. So these policies were in need of updating anyways. So it just kind of that goal and the update of these aligns really well. So I would just say we're glad to. There was a lot of work done on these. I know that especially I think I want to say, and Dr. Fitzgerald, correct me if I'm wrong, the sexual harassment policy in particulars, Title IX and sexual harassment. There's been a lot of legal changes at the federal level in particular, a little bit of volleying back and forth with different elections as to how the policies change. So we had kind of been waiting for a good time to make the updates, and things kind of ping-ponged a little bit back.
Yes.
So the updates were actually not as extensive as they would have been. Say all that to say that, we're glad to be updating these so that they are in compliance with both federal and state law, and there's some differences between the two. But what we're hoping to do is if we get through our second reading, we're hoping that you may be willing to waive the third reading so that we can get these passed and actively in place. Because we'd like to push out kind of a mid-year. I know we're just a little bit past mid-year, but kind of a spring reminder of here's all these policies have now been updated. This is a reminder of our district expectation. We expect that everyone is aware of these policies and following these. So it gives us kind of a natural opportunity to keep that, these really important policies in particular kind of in the
Mind.
forefront of mind, so that everyone is little raised awareness and create the culture around that we want.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go to 6.6. Do I have a motion to rescind and delete Board of Education?
I think we wanted to actually hold on that one.
Oh, we're not rescinding it.
No, because we wanted to keep that in place until we pass,
Okay.
until we
Did you
adopt
actually
the
say
other
that?
one.
I did.
Okay. Sorry, I was listening.
It's getting late, it's fine.
Sorry about that. Okay.
And I will, and Sid did kind of allude to it, but I will note, we did keep a little bit of the language from the old one. We carried it over to the new one
Yes.
to supplement the governor, because it wasn't just about, for us, it's not just about indoor classroom heat. We wanted to be clear about extreme heat implications for athletics, recess, things like that. So I think it was a great
More
improvement.
comprehensive, yeah.
Yes, more comprehensive.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we already did 7.1.
Yep.
I do want to, I do just want to say, I'm sad to see Mr. Toombs go. I wish him the best of luck in his new opportunity, or his new old opportunity.
Yes.
And that I do, your plan to have I am in alignment with the plan to have an interim who will kind of do a deep dive into the athletics program to see kind of where to take it, help us determine where to take it next.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to take 7.2 through 8.1 as a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Or is there anything you'd like to?
Schedule B, we've got lots of coaching appointments for the
Yes.
Spring season,
Wonderful.
so that's exciting. On the instructional agenda, we're continuing to approve student teachers and substitute teachers, both of which are very valued and needed. And on the non-instructional, just a variety of resignations, appointments to different positions. We are very bittersweet again whenever we accept a retirement. Margaret McCarthy, our nurse at Pelham Middle School, has submitted her resignation for purposes of retirement. She's been in the district since 2001, so a 25-year employee, working faithfully at the middle school. So she will be with us, that'll be effective September 5th. So we will be looking for a new nurse to start off the school year for us. But we're just so thankful to Margaret for all of her hard work. The way the nurse is just such a critical role caring for students and staff. They are the trusted adult for many children, and they're the person who's there in their time of need. So Margaret's going to be tough to replace, but we wish her all the best in her retirement, and every happiness to her. And then finally, also, I'll just point out one in Jim's office. We're wishing well to Kaylin Rodriguez, our district payroll clerk, who is moving on for another opportunity as well. So we'll be having some transition in the business office. That's our only payroll clerk. So that is a critical transition.
Yeah.
Because minimally, everyone's got to get paid.
Yes.
There's 2 pay periods a month.
That's
So,
right.
And you'll see in the appointments, Kaylin has generously agreed to work on a part-time basis as needed, and we've identified a part-time solution, and we're certainly working with HR. Caitlin has been great to have in our district. She's moving on to a great opportunity. We're going to miss her, but we certainly wish her well, and we know she'll do great in her new position.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those all are approved. Do we have any new business? No? Okay. There's no communications and comments from the public, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.